So welcome to example 5. Here we have a ship. It's being pulled by two tugs, and actually both tugs are exerting the exact same amount of force, 300 newtons, and they're making the exact same angle with the horizontal, so each making their own 31-degree angle. So hopefully you can convince yourself that this ship, because everything's equal on both sides of the horizontal, this ship is going to travel in exactly a straight path. So what we're asked to find is, what is the overall force that's pulling the ship forward? So we'll get rid of all this. And what we can consider is that this first tug, we can call this force 1, and the second tug, we can call this force 2. And when we want an overall force of two forces, we know that that's the vector sum, so that's the resultant force, and it's the vector sum here. So how are we going to add these two vectors that we see in our diagram? Well, we know how to do that. We make a parallelogram. So we know that this second force, it's not only here, but it's also up here. And what that does is it closes this triangle and gives us our overall resultant force. And we know, because of this Z pattern that exists, that we have a 31-degree angle up here. Now, we know what the magnitude of force 1 is. We know what the magnitude of force 2 is. They're both 300 degrees given in the question. The thing we're missing that we need is this angle between the two forces. So how are we going to go get that? Well, we have two of the three angles in a triangle. So that's going to be 180 minus 31 minus 31. So theta is 118 degrees. So I'm just going to redraw this triangle over here really quickly, just to give us an idea of what we're working with. So we've got 300 newtons and 300 newtons, and we have the magnitude of the resultant force is what we're looking for. So once again, this is classic cosine law. So I'll ask you to pause the video now and try and come up with what you think the magnitude of the resultant force is, and see if it confirms with my answer in a sec. So what I ended up getting after subbing in for the cosine law is that the resultant vector is everything you see here, cos of 118 degrees, and you get about 514.3 newtons. And then the conclusion that we're going to make is that the total force pulling the ship forward, and it's in a straight path. We can conclude that as well. We know that because we already talked about it. You have the equal angles on both sides and equal forces on both sides, so the ship has to travel straight, and it's traveling with a force of about 514.3 newtons.